What if the skies above Denmark and France are hiding secrets that could change everything we know about our world? Unexplained lights, mysterious craft, and chilling encounters have left countless witnesses searching for answers. Could the truth be closer than we think? The mystery of UFOs has captivated human imagination for centuries, sparking curiosity, fear, and wonder in equal measure. Across the globe, stories of strange lights in the sky, mysterious craft, and encounters with unknown beings continue to intrigue both believers and skeptics. Despite the passing of decades, the phenomenon remains as elusive and enigmatic as ever. Governments, military personnel, and civilians alike have reported sightings, yet few answers have emerged. While the United States, with its infamous Area 51 and the well-known Roswell incident, may dominate the popular narrative, UFO sightings are not confined to one region or country. In fact, many parts of the world have their own unique and unexplained encounters, and some of the most puzzling cases come from countries like Denmark and France. Denmark, known for its peaceful landscapes and rich cultural heritage, might not seem like a hotspot for UFO activity. Yet, over the years, reports from both rural towns and urban centers have surfaced, detailing strange aerial phenomena that defy logical explanation. In Denmark, the UFO sightings often come with the added mystery of witnesses reporting unidentified flying objects that seem to defy the laws of physics. Crafts that hover silently in the sky, make abrupt maneuvers, or vanish without a trace. These accounts span decades, yet despite the volume of sightings, official explanations remain scarce, leaving many to wonder if there's more to these stories than meets the eye. Likewise, France has a long and storied history with the unexplained. From the early days of aviation to the present day, France has been home to some of the most perplexing UFO reports in Europe. Perhaps most notably, France's government has taken a more open approach to investigating UFO sightings, with agencies like GIPAN Group for the study of unidentified aerospace phenomena, playing a crucial role in documenting and analyzing reports. Yet despite decades of research, there remain cases that defy any conventional explanation, leaving the French public and international observers alike pondering whether these phenomena are of terrestrial or extraterrestrial origin. These two countries, seemingly unconnected in their histories, share an unsettling number of unexplained aerial sightings that continue to fuel debates and curiosity. The UFO phenomena in Denmark and France are not just isolated incidents, but part of a larger global mystery, one that beckons for answers. As more witnesses come forward with their stories and more evidence, in the form of radar data, photographs, and videos, is uncovered, the question remains: what are we really seeing in our skies? Are these merely misidentifications of natural phenomena, or is something much more extraordinary at play? The story of UFOs in Denmark and France is just beginning to unravel, and it is one that will challenge our understanding of the world around us. In the early 1950s, Denmark became one of the first European countries to experience a surge in UFO sightings. What started as isolated reports of strange lights in the sky soon turned into a series of encounters that would captivate both locals and researchers alike. People from all walks of life began to report seeing unidentified objects hovering above their homes, darting across the sky, or performing erratic movements that defied the laws of aviation. In the small town of Sundervig, for example, farmers would stand in their fields at dusk, watching strange lights streak across the sky at impossible speeds. Initially, many dismissed these sightings as misidentified aircraft or meteorological anomalies, but the frequency and consistency of the reports were hard to ignore. The first major wave of UFO activity in Denmark occurred in 1952, when residents of several rural areas described seeing a large, glowing disk hovering silently in the sky, before suddenly zipping away at an extraordinary pace. Some witnesses claimed to have seen the object change color, shifting from a bright white to a fiery red before disappearing into the horizon. These sightings were soon reported by the local media, and researchers began to take notice. The pattern was unmistakable. UFOs were appearing over Denmark in numbers that couldn't be explained away by conventional means. One of the most compelling accounts came from a group of military personnel stationed at a radar base in northern Denmark. They reported tracking an object on radar that seemed to be performing extraordinary maneuvers. The object, which appeared as a small dot on their screens, moved with such speed and precision that it left the operators baffled. They watched as it seemed to hover in midair, then shoot off at an angle that no known aircraft could match. When the object finally disappeared from the radar, the operators were left in stunned silence, with no explanation for what they had witnessed. As more sightings were reported, local residents began to share their experiences with one another, and soon a pattern emerged. People spoke of seeing UFOs in the same areas, at similar times, and often under the same conditions: clear skies with little or no wind. Some of the most vivid accounts came from fishermen along Denmark's coast, who reported seeing large, silvery discs flying just above the water's surface, moving with a grace and agility that seemed impossible for any human-made vehicle. In interviews with researchers, these fishermen described the UFOs as having a subtle, glowing aura around them, which added to the otherworldly feeling of the encounters. In the years that followed, Denmark would become a focal point for UFO research in Europe. Many of the early sightings were chronicled by local scientists and enthusiasts who sought to understand the mysterious phenomena. Though skepticism remained high, the evidence, eyewitness testimony, photographs, and radar readings could not be easily dismissed. The early encounters in Denmark planted the seeds for a growing body of research into UFOs, a subject that would continue to captivate the public's imagination for decades to come. These initial sightings served as a reminder that some mysteries, no matter how hard we try to explain them, remain unsolved. In the winter of 1964, a series of unexplained lights over Copenhagen captivated the city's residents and sparked intense curiosity among researchers. It began on a clear, crisp evening when dozens of people, from students to factory workers, noticed strange lights in the sky. These lights moved erratically, shifting from one point in the sky to another without any apparent pattern. The lights, described as small, bright orbs, seemed to hover for a moment before darting off at an impossible speed. Within hours, news of the strange phenomenon spread, and by the next day, hundreds of people had come forward with their accounts, claiming to have witnessed the lights themselves. What was most puzzling about these sightings was the consistency of the descriptions. Whether they were seen from the crowded streets of the city center or from the quiet suburbs, the witnesses all reported similar behavior. The lights appeared out of nowhere, moved in erratic, sharp angles, and often flickered before disappearing. Some witnesses claimed that the lights formed geometric shapes in the sky, while others suggested that the lights were dancing in synchrony, as if controlled by an unseen force. The official response from local authorities was initially one of skepticism. The Danish Air Force was quick to dismiss the sightings, offering the explanation that they were simply reflections from distant aircraft, weather balloons, or perhaps even military tests. However, as more reports flooded in, the Air Force could no longer ignore the sheer number of eyewitnesses, many of whom were respected members of the community: police officers, teachers, and even military personnel. These weren't the typical reports of a lone observer seeing something strange. These were coordinated accounts from people who had no connection to one another. Among the many accounts, one particularly compelling story came from a group of university students who were out for a late-night walk near the harbor. They described seeing the lights hover in place for several minutes before splitting into smaller orbs, which then darted off in different directions. The students attempted to photograph the phenomenon, but their cameras, they later reported, failed to capture any clear images of the lights. Despite their frustration, the students were adamant that what they saw was not a figment of their imagination. As the days passed, the phenomenon persisted, and more individuals began to report similar experiences. The city's official response remained cautious, with the local police issuing statements advising the public not to jump to conclusions. However, in private, city officials and military personnel began discussing the incident more seriously, particularly after a civilian pilot reported seeing the lights while flying near the city. This pilot, a seasoned aviator, described the lights as behaving in ways that no conventional aircraft could replicate. Despite the numerous eyewitness accounts and the mystery surrounding the lights, the official explanation remained unchanged. The authorities insisted that the phenomenon was a natural occurrence, perhaps related to atmospheric conditions or even a mass case of misperception. But for many of those who had witnessed the lights firsthand, the incident in Copenhagen marked a moment of undeniable uncertainty. A reminder that there are still things in the sky that remain beyond our understanding. The lights over Copenhagen, although never fully explained, would linger in the minds of those who saw them, a tantalizing mystery that, to this day, has never been solved. France has long been a focal point in the study of unidentified flying objects, with a rich history of UFO encounters stretching back to the early 20th century. Unlike many other nations, France has approached the phenomenon with a level of seriousness that has set it apart. The French government, rather than dismissing UFO sightings as mere fantasy, has maintained a more open stance, even conducting its own investigations into the phenomenon. This openness has played a significant role in shaping both public and scientific perceptions of UFOs in the country, making it one of the most intriguing places in the world when it comes to unexplained aerial phenomena. One of the most notable periods of French UFO investigation occurred in the 1990s with the formation of the Cometa group. Comprised of military personnel, scientists, and high-ranking officials, Cometa was established with the purpose of studying UFO encounters from an official perspective. The group's goal was to provide the government with an unbiased, scientific analysis of UFO reports, attempting to determine whether these sightings posed any national security risks or if they were part of a broader, more significant phenomenon. Their work was groundbreaking, as it represented one of the first efforts of its kind by a government-backed body to tackle the UFO question head-on. In 1999, Cometa released its now famous report, which became a turning point in France's approach to UFOs. The report, known as the Cometa Report, outlined the findings of its investigation into over 1,600 UFO sightings. It concluded that the evidence gathered could not be easily explained by conventional means, and in fact, some of the cases involved phenomena that were beyond current scientific understanding. Cometa's recommendations were clear. The government should take the issue of UFOs seriously, invest more in research, and explore the possibility that UFOs could be extraterrestrial in origin. The release of the report sent shockwaves through the scientific community and the public alike. While the French government did not officially endorse the conclusions of Cometa, the report's release marked a significant shift in the way UFOs were treated by French officials. The findings spurred a wave of further investigations and discussions, both within the government and the scientific community. France, with its government-backed studies and growing body of evidence, became one of the leading countries in the world to seriously examine the UFO phenomenon. This openness has led to numerous high-profile encounters throughout France's history. In the 1950s, a wave of UFO sightings in the rural areas of southern France captured the public's attention. Witnesses, including pilots, farmers, and even police officers, reported seeing strange, luminous objects in the sky. These encounters prompted the French government to create the GEPAN group for the study of unidentified aerospace phenomena, an official body tasked with investigating UFO sightings across the country. Over the years, France's approach to UFOs has remained largely transparent compared to other nations. The government has released reports and documents related to UFO encounters, allowing researchers to study them in greater detail. Though many sightings remain unexplained, France's commitment to UFO research has cemented its place as a leading figure in the quest for understanding the phenomenon. Whether extraterrestrial or not, France's UFO legacy continues to captivate the imagination of those who dare to look beyond the skies. In the summer of 1965, the small, peaceful town of Valensole in southern France became the center of one of the most widely discussed UFO encounters in history. The incident, which would come to be known as the Valensole UFO encounter, remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious cases to this day. On July 1st, a local farmer named Maurice Massé was tending to his lavender fields early in the morning when he experienced a life-altering encounter that would leave him and the entire town bewildered for years to come. Massé was working, alone in his fields, preparing to harvest lavender, when he noticed a strange object hovering in the sky. At first, he thought it might be a plane or some kind of experimental aircraft, but as the object came closer, he realized it was something entirely different. It was a disc-shaped craft, with a smooth metallic surface and a strange, almost hypnotic presence. The object hovered silently above the ground before descending slowly toward him. As it landed, the air around him grew eerily still, and a sense of dread filled the air. Mass's first reaction was to flee, but before he could move, he was paralyzed by what he described as a force that seemed to emanate from the craft itself. He later recalled feeling as if time had slowed down, his senses overwhelmed by the strange energy. The object landed just a few meters away from him, and two figures, what Mass described as humanoid beings, emerged from the craft. They were small, with large heads and eyes, and their bodies were encased in tight-fitting suits. Mass was unable to comprehend the sight before him, his mind racing with a mix of fear and disbelief. For what seemed like an eternity, Mass stood frozen in place, watching the beings as they moved around the craft. One of them appeared to be working on something, while the other approached Massé. He was unable to move or speak, as if the creature's presence had an otherworldly control over him. After what felt like several minutes, the beings retreated into the craft, which then took off silently and quickly, disappearing into the sky without a trace. When Mass was finally able to move again, he rushed to the nearest town to tell his story. He was in a state of shock, unable to process what had just happened. The townspeople, many of whom knew him as a well-respected and down-to-earth farmer, were initially skeptical. However, when Massé showed them the marks left behind on the ground, strange, circular impressions that seemed to indicate where the craft had landed, their disbelief began to fade. As word spread, investigators from the French government and UFO researchers began to investigate the incident. Massé underwent several interviews and psychological evaluations, and though some skeptics questioned his credibility, the evidence, particularly the physical traces left behind in the field, was undeniable. The case became one of the most heavily scrutinized and widely discussed UFO encounters in French history. Years later, the Valensole incident would become a cornerstone of UFO research in Europe. Maurice Mass's testimony, along with the physical evidence, cemented the event as one of the most compelling and puzzling UFO encounters ever documented. Despite numerous investigations and public interest, the true nature of what happened in Valensole remains shrouded in mystery, leaving behind only questions and speculation. Was it an elaborate hoax, a misidentified military experiment, or something far more extraordinary? Whatever the truth may be, the Valensole incident continues to intrigue and captivate the imaginations of those who believe that the skies above hold more secrets than we could ever understand. In the early days of UFO investigations, Denmark played a unique role, especially in relation to the involvement of its military. The Danish armed forces were not only witnesses to unusual aerial phenomena, but they also took an active part in investigating these mysterious occurrences. Their involvement dates back to the 1950s, a time when UFO sightings were becoming increasingly frequent around the world. Unlike many other nations, Denmark's military was unusually open about their observations and findings, creating a detailed record of events that would later intrigue both researchers and the general public. In 1957, a strange series of sightings were reported by Danish civilians and military personnel alike. The phenomenon took place in the skies over the Jutland Peninsula, with reports of strange, high-speed lights and unexplained objects moving at impossible velocities. These incidents were not limited to a few isolated observations but were witnessed by multiple individuals, including military radar operators who tracked unknown objects in their systems. These radar contacts were significant because they were not the usual blips or errors but solid, unexplained objects that seemed to defy the known laws of aviation. The Danish military's response was far from dismissive. In fact, they took the sightings seriously enough to begin an investigation, gathering detailed records and testimonies from those who had witnessed the events. Their reports, along with some intercepted communication, revealed that there were indeed unexplained phenomena in the skies that could not be easily dismissed as misidentifications or natural occurrences. The military did not immediately jump to conclusions about extraterrestrial involvement, but they acknowledged that the sightings were outside the scope of conventional military or civilian aircraft. This careful attention to the UFO reports was not without its challenges, however. In the following decades, Denmark's military quietly continued to collect data on UFOs, although much of it was kept confidential or marked as classified. It wasn't until the early 2000s, when a series of previously restricted documents were declassified, that the public would get a clearer picture of Denmark's military involvement in UFO investigations. These documents, which included military memos, radar reports, and even photographs of unknown objects, revealed the extent to which the Danish military had been tracking unexplained aerial phenomena. The release of these documents sent ripples through the global UFO research community. They indicated that Denmark's military had been observing and tracking UFOs with a level of seriousness that was often not reflected in the approaches of other nations at the time. The documents revealed instances where military personnel were ordered to investigate unidentified objects, and in some cases, they recorded multiple UFO sightings in the same location over extended periods. Some of the more intriguing findings included descriptions of objects performing maneuvers that could not be replicated by any known human aircraft at the time. For many, these declassified documents were a turning point in the understanding of Denmark's role in the ongoing UFO mystery. They not only confirmed the involvement of the Danish military in investigating UFOs, but also raised questions about the extent of what they had actually observed and documented. While the military has always maintained that they did not find conclusive proof of extraterrestrial involvement, the sheer volume of unexplained encounters and the methods used to track these phenomena hinted at something far more mysterious. The implications of these revelations were profound. They suggested that Denmark, a small yet strategically important country, was not only part of the global network observing UFOs, but was also deeply involved in trying to understand what was happening in the skies above. For those who believe that governments are withholding information about extraterrestrial encounters, the Danish military's openness and declassification of these records stood as a significant marker in the ongoing battle for transparency. Despite the continued skepticism in some quarters, these documents helped shape the narrative that UFOs were, and perhaps still are, a phenomenon that deserves serious investigation. In the skies above Normandy, France, the 1970s became a decade of unprecedented UFO sightings that would stir both local and global interest. Normandy, a region steeped in history and folklore, found itself at the center of strange and unexplained phenomena. What started as sporadic reports from civilians quickly gained traction as more individuals, including police officers and military personnel, reported similar experiences. These sightings took place primarily during the late evenings and into the night, with many describing glowing objects moving at remarkable speeds and making impossible maneuvers. The consistency of the reports made them particularly noteworthy, suggesting that these weren't isolated incidents, but part of a much larger, ongoing phenomenon. In 1974, one of the most significant encounters took place near the town of Cannes. A local farmer, while tending to his fields, saw a series of bright lights hovering just above the horizon. The lights appeared to move erratically, seemingly darting from one position to another before disappearing into the night sky. What caught his attention wasn't just the lights, but the lack of sound. The objects were silent, a feature that would become a common characteristic in many later reports from the region. As the months went by, similar sightings were reported by others, including a group of military personnel who were conducting routine exercises in the area. Their accounts mirrored those of the civilians, adding weight to the growing belief that something far more mysterious was at play. What made the Normandy sightings particularly intriguing was their striking resemblance to similar phenomena that had been reported around the sound world. From the United States to South America, there seemed to be an emerging pattern. In each case, the objects were described as luminous, able to change direction with impossible agility, and often performing maneuvers that no known aircraft could achieve. The international nature of these sightings created a ripple effect in the UFO research community. Experts began to speculate that these incidents might be connected, suggesting that the phenomena were not isolated to specific geographic locations, but part of a larger, the global pattern. The French government took notice of the increasing reports, and in 1976, a team from the French space agency, CNES Centre National d'Études Spatiales, was dispatched to Normandy to investigate the growing mystery. Their findings were inconclusive but noted the recurring nature of the sightings and the consistency in the descriptions. The research team found no evidence of natural explanations, such as weather balloons or aircraft, and concluded that the sightings warranted further study. However, the French government, like many others, was cautious in its approach, offering no definitive conclusions, leaving many questions unanswered. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the Normandy sightings remained a key part of the global UFO narrative. The patterns observed in this small corner of France mirrored those seen in other countries, suggesting that whatever was happening in the skies above Normandy was not a local anomaly. The phenomenon seemed to transcend national borders, with witnesses across the world describing eerily similar experiences. The intrigue surrounding these close encounters laid the groundwork for future investigations and continues to fuel the debate over what is truly happening in our skies. As researchers and enthusiasts continue to delve into these cases, one question remains at the forefront. Are these encounters simply a coincidence, or are they part of a larger, more intricate puzzle that spans the globe? The Rendlesham Forest incident, often referred to as Britain's Roswell, is one of the most compelling and well-documented UFO encounters in modern history. In December 1980, a series of strange events took place near RAF Woodbridge, a British military base in Suffolk, England. The story of these events, involving military personnel and UFO sightings, has since captivated the public's imagination, drawing comparisons to other global phenomena. Interestingly, many have wondered if there could be a connection between the Rendlesham Forest event and the unexplained sightings in both Denmark and France, suggesting that these incidents might be part of a broader, interconnected mystery. The Rendlesham incident began when a series of strange lights were spotted near the forest by a group of United States Air Force, USAF personnel. As they approached the lights, they encountered a triangular-shaped craft that seemed to defy all known laws of physics. The encounter was detailed in several reports, and the experiences of those involved were remarkably consistent, involving mysterious craft that moved in ways no earthly technology could replicate. The most notable feature of the Rendlesham Forest incident was the immediate official silence that followed, with much of the information being classified or buried, leaving only fragments for public consumption. However, despite the military's attempt to suppress the incident, many witnesses, both civilian and military, have continued to speak out, and their stories still echo in the UFO community today. As the years went by, investigators began to connect Rendlesham with other UFO sightings across Europe, particularly in Denmark and France. Eyewitness testimonies from all three locations shared several striking similarities. The triangular-shaped craft, the silent yet powerful propulsion systems, and the unnatural movements of these objects were all present in both the British and continental sightings. Some investigators have even pointed to the fact that these sightings occurred in a similar time frame, suggesting that there might be a larger pattern at play. Experts who have delved into these cases often note the mysterious nature of these sightings, which seem to defy any logical or scientific explanation. According to several UFO researchers, these incidents are not isolated events, but rather pieces of a much larger puzzle, one that has been unfolding for decades across multiple countries. What links the Rendlesham incident to the sightings in Denmark and France is not just the physical descriptions of the UFOs, but the manner in which they appear to interact with military personnel. In each case, the military has been involved, either through direct sightings or through the subsequent cover-ups and investigations. This shared element of military involvement raises questions about the nature of these encounters and whether they could be part of a larger, more coordinated effort to study and observe humanity. In interviews with witnesses from both Denmark and France, the parallels to Rendlesham are striking. Some individuals recall seeing similar lights in the sky, often at night, and experiencing a deep sense of unease or fear, a common emotional reaction to such encounters. Several military personnel from the Danish and French sightings have even commented on the strange, almost deliberate nature of the UFO's movements, echoing reports from the Rendlesham incident. The consistency of these stories suggests that something much larger is at play, and the connection between these sightings, particularly with the involvement of military forces, is too significant to ignore. As the Rendlesham incident continues to be dissected by investigators, the possibility that it is linked to the UFO sightings in Denmark and France remains a tantalizing and perplexing question. Could these encounters be part of a larger global phenomenon? Or are they isolated incidents, each with their own unique explanations? The connections between these sightings remain elusive, but as more witnesses come forward and more information comes to light, the answers may be closer than ever. The French government has long maintained a relatively open approach to the subject of UFOs, particularly when compared to other nations. This openness is embodied in GIPAN, or the Group for the Study and Information on Unidentified Aerospace Phenomena, a branch of the French space agency, CNES, National Center for Space Studies. Established in 1977, GIPAN was created with the goal of systematically collecting, analyzing, and disseminating information about UFO sightings across France. It operates with a transparency that is rare for a government entity, releasing reports and making public its findings on UFO-related events. The French government's approach to UFOs is grounded in a scientific framework, which contrasts with the more secretive or dismissive stances seen in other countries. France has taken a proactive role in acknowledging that UFOs, or unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, cannot be easily dismissed. GIPAN's role is to provide an objective and methodical investigation into reported sightings, employing scientific analysis and working with experts in various fields, including aviation, physics, and military technology, to understand the nature of the phenomena. This openness has fostered a sense of trust within the French public and the international UFO community, making GIPN one of the most respected UFO investigative bodies in the world. GIPN's work is built around transparency and accessibility. It offers a wealth of case reports and research documents to the public, which include detailed investigations into hundreds of UFO sightings. The goal is not to prove or disprove the existence of extraterrestrial life, but to examine the unexplained phenomena with the rigor of scientific inquiry. The data gathered by GIPN is made available through their official website, allowing both professionals and enthusiasts to delve into the particulars of each case. In doing so, GIPN plays an important role in fostering an informed dialogue about UFOs in France, shifting the conversation from speculation to empirical investigation. Despite its comprehensive approach, GIPN is not without its critics. Some argue that its investigations are too cautious or fail to fully address the more profound implications of the phenomena it studies. While GIPN does not claim to have definitive answers to the questions surrounding UFOs, it remains dedicated to exploring these mysteries in a structured and open manner, offering the French public an opportunity to engage with the subject on a deeper level. In recent years, the increasing number of high-profile sightings and reports, such as those from military personnel and reputable witnesses, has added a layer of credibility to GIPN's work. The French government's willingness to engage with UFO phenomena through GIPN has led to a broader conversation about the nature of these sightings, both in France and globally. In contrast to other countries where UFOs are often dismissed as mere folklore or fantasy, France has accepted the reality of unidentified aerial phenomena, acknowledging their presence in our skies and allowing for a national conversation. Whether this will lead to further revelations about UFOs or remain a topic of curiosity for decades to come remains to be seen. But GIPN's continued efforts provide a crucial foundation for understanding these phenomena. In Denmark, radar data has often been a critical source of evidence in the investigation of UFO sightings. For years, air traffic controllers and aviation experts have reported unusual, unexplained blips on radar screens, sometimes coinciding with civilian or military aircraft operations. The data, while never fully explained, presents a compelling case for the presence of unidentified flying objects in Danish airspace. One notable incident occurred in the late 1990s, when several air traffic controllers working at Copenhagen Airport tracked an unknown object, moving at incredible speeds and performing maneuvers that defied the capabilities of conventional aircraft. The object appeared on radar at multiple locations across the region, and despite numerous attempts to identify it, the controllers were unable to match it to any known aircraft, weather phenomenon, or man-made object. The object moved in ways that suggested intelligent control, sharp turns, sudden altitude changes, and speeds that far surpassed those of commercial airliners. Experts from Denmark's air traffic control sector were initially reluctant to discuss these incidents in detail, fearing ridicule or the potential for compromising their professionalism. However, over time, a few of them began to come forward with their personal accounts, describing their unease when witnessing these unexplainable radar signatures. One air traffic controller recalled tracking an object for several minutes, watching it change direction and altitude with no apparent reason or pattern. Despite attempting to reach the object via communication channels, no response came, and the object disappeared from the radar screens without explanation. Some experts suggest that the radar data could be attributed to atmospheric phenomena such as rare weather patterns, though no such events were recorded at the time. Others point to the possibility of classified military aircraft being involved, although no confirmation of such flights was provided. Yet, there remains a distinct sense of mystery surrounding these incidents, especially considering the lack of any clear conventional explanation. In a handful of cases, military radar stations have also reported similar phenomena, where fast-moving objects appeared to evade standard detection methods or exhibited erratic behaviors in ways that were inconsistent with known aircraft movements. These reports have added to the growing body of radar evidence suggesting that something, or someone, is actively observing Denmark's airspace. Though no definitive answers have emerged, these radar events continue to fuel interest in UFO investigations in Denmark, with both the public and aviation experts alike struggling to reconcile what they saw with what they know about the limits of modern aviation technology. The radar data, along with the testimonies of those involved, remain a key aspect of the mystery surrounding UFO sightings in Denmark. While air traffic controllers and experts continue to search for answers, these unexplained blips on the radar offer a tantalizing glimpse into the possibility that not all phenomena in our skies can be easily categorized or dismissed. Over the years, Denmark and France have both been the setting for numerous reported alien abductions, leaving behind a trail of unsettling accounts and unanswered questions. These incidents, often shared by those who claim to have experienced them, offer eerie and disturbing narratives of being taken by beings from another world, sometimes for long periods of time, only to be returned with fragmented memories and unexplained physical symptoms. In Denmark, one of the earliest reports came from a man who claimed to have been taken during a quiet evening walk near the outskirts of Copenhagen. He recalled feeling a strange pull, as if an invisible force was guiding him away from his normal path. The next thing he remembered was waking up hours later in a nearby field, disoriented and with no clear idea of how he had gotten there. Upon returning home, he found that several hours had passed, but he had no memory of the intervening time. His body showed signs of trauma, mysterious burns on his arms and marks that resembled needle pricks. It wasn't until much later that he began to experience vivid dreams and flashbacks of being aboard a craft, surrounded by beings with large eyes and thin, elongated limbs. Though some suggested psychological explanations such as sleep paralysis or stress-induced hallucinations, others pointed to the physical evidence of the marks and the missing time as more troubling, leading to a deeper investigation into the phenomenon. Similarly, in France, there have been several high-profile abduction claims, with the most famous case being that of a woman from the south of the country. She reported an experience in which she was suddenly paralyzed while driving through a rural area at night. According to her account, she was then taken aboard a craft, where she was subjected to medical examinations. She recalled seeing strange beings, again with large eyes and pale skin, conducting what seemed like experiments on her. Like others, she was eventually returned to her car, confused and with no clear memory of how she had arrived back. However, she did find inexplicable marks on her body, including what appeared to be small circular scars. In both countries, these accounts have sparked the interest of researchers who attempt to separate the psychological from the physical. Psychological studies on the phenomenon often point to possible cultural influences, stress, and sleep disorders as contributing factors. Yet, the physical evidence, the burns, scars, and unexplained marks often lead some researchers to question whether these incidents could be more than just imagined experiences. In many cases, hypnosis has been used to attempt to uncover lost memories, though the veracity of these methods is frequently disputed. Skeptics argue that the abduction phenomenon is a product of suggestion, cultural influences, or mental health issues, while proponents believe the physical evidence, coupled with the consistency of witness testimonies, points to something far more unsettling. Whether these abductions are the result of extraterrestrial beings, government experiments, or psychological phenomena, the people of Denmark and France who have experienced them are left with a lingering mystery. The emotional scars they carry, combined with the unexplainable physical evidence, continue to raise more questions than answers, leaving the door open to possibilities that some are too afraid to confront. In the quiet, rural corners of France, far from the bustling cities and urban lights, There exists a long history of unexplained UFO sightings. These remote villages, with their close-knit communities and tranquil atmospheres, seem to have become regular hotspots for strange phenomena that often defy explanation. It's in these forgotten places, far from the scrutiny of urban life, that stories of flying lights and eerie craft begin to intertwine with local folklore. The first accounts often date back to the mid-20th century, when local farmers and villagers started to notice odd, moving lights in the sky. These were not the typical stars or the planes that occasionally passed overhead. They moved erratically, changing direction in ways that seemed impossible for known aircraft. The sightings were dismissed by many as nothing more than reflections or the work of overactive imaginations. However, as the reports continued and became more frequent, they began to capture the attention of investigators. One notable case occurred in the 1970s, when a small village in southern France became the center of UFO activity. Farmers reported seeing strange, glowing orbs hovering over their fields late at night, often accompanied by a hum or buzz. The most startling encounter came from an elderly couple who, while walking near the woods, found themselves surrounded by several of these orbs. The husband, in his account, described a sudden shift in the atmosphere, as though the air itself had thickened and time slowed down. The couple didn't remember how they got back home, only that several hours had passed. When they returned to the spot, they found scorched marks on the earth where the lights had been. The villagers, often isolated from the rest of the world, began to look at these strange events with a mixture of fear and awe. Over time, these sightings became an unspoken part of village life. Residents, reluctant to speak openly for fear of ridicule, started to share their experiences only in hushed tones, but the stories spread. The local bars and cafes became places where the mysterious lights were discussed as if they were as much a part of life as the crops in the fields. While many outsiders remained skeptical, local authorities were often called to investigate. However, official reports were rarely conclusive, and in some cases, the investigations were quietly dismissed. The townspeople, however, remained steadfast in their beliefs. The effects on the communities were subtle but profound. Some villagers found themselves more spiritually attuned, with many turning to older superstitions and local legends for explanations. Others became obsessed with finding the truth, organizing small expeditions into the woods or fields, hoping to catch a glimpse of the unknown. For the younger generation, these sightings became a part of their cultural identity. What started as isolated incidents eventually morphed into a phenomenon that both intrigued and terrified. While skepticism still reigned in some circles, the UFO sightings had an undeniable impact on the social fabric of these rural villages. The mystery persisted, casting a long shadow over the daily lives of those who had witnessed it, and leaving behind a legacy of curiosity that would linger in these quiet corners of France for years to come. In the summer and autumn of 1954, France experienced one of the largest and most widespread UFO waves in its history. This wave, which would become etched into the country's collective memory, saw hundreds of sightings across the nation. It was a phenomenon that swept through small villages and bustling cities alike, stirring both fear and fascination among the public. What began as isolated reports soon transformed into a tidal wave of strange sightings, leading many to wonder if the skies above were indeed home to visitors from another world. The first sightings were reported in the rural areas of the South, where farmers and locals described strange, glowing objects streaking across the sky, their movements erratic and unpredictable. As news spread, more witnesses began to step forward, sharing their accounts of hovering discs, cigar-shaped crafts, and odd lights performing maneuvers far beyond the capability of any known aircraft. Some of these objects were seen as low as treetop level, with several witnesses claiming they heard a low hum or buzzing sound emanating from the objects, adding to the sense of mystery. What made the 1954 wave unique was the sheer number of sightings and the variety of witnesses. From children playing in the fields to police officers on patrol, almost every segment of French society had a story to tell. One of the most notable instances occurred in the small town of Chabail, where a group of children and adults alike watched in disbelief as a saucer-shaped craft hovered above them, making sharp, sudden movements before disappearing into the distance. The event was witnessed by dozens of people, and though there was no physical evidence left behind, the testimony was vivid and consistent. The impact on the national psyche was profound. Newspapers across France were filled with headlines about the mysterious objects in the sky. A sense of unease began to take root in the general population. People found themselves looking up at the sky, wondering if they, too, would witness something unexplained. In some towns, groups of locals began organizing to watch the skies at night, hoping to catch sight of the strange lights once again. Rumors spread, and speculation ran rampant. Were these extraterrestrial ships? Could they be a secret military project? Or was the whole thing a mass hallucination? The French government, not accustomed to dealing with such widespread phenomena, found itself in an awkward position. Official statements were often vague, with some acknowledging the sightings but offering little in the way of explanations. However, there was no mass denial, unlike in some countries, where sightings were often dismissed outright. France seemed to at least entertain the possibility that something unusual was happening in the skies. The wave of 1954 left a lasting impression on French culture and society. It marked the beginning of a more serious, national conversation about UFOs. Researchers and enthusiasts began to form dedicated groups to investigate these events, and some were even granted access to official documents. As the years passed, the sightings of 1954 would become a key part of France's UFO lore, a time when the line between reality and the unknown seemed thinner than ever. The events of that year not only shaped the way the French viewed the skies, but also set the stage for future investigations into the phenomenon that would continue to captivate the nation for decades to come. In France, the UFO phenomenon has long been met with both intrigue and skepticism, but it has also spurred serious scientific inquiry. The country has been a hub for some of the most thorough investigations into unidentified flying objects, with numerous reports analyzed by experts from various scientific disciplines. Despite the initial dismissals and ridicule that often accompany such topics, French scientists and researchers have taken an increasingly open approach to studying the phenomena, fostering a culture of inquiry that continues to this day. One of the most significant contributions to the scientific investigation of UFOs in France came in the 1970s with the establishment of GIPN, the Group for the Study and Information on Unidentified Aerospace Phenomena. This government-funded organization, under the auspices of the French space agency CNES, National Center for Space Studies, set out to study UFO reports with a rigorous, systematic methodology. GIPN's approach was unique because, unlike many organizations that simply dismissed UFO reports, it sought to treat them as legitimate phenomena worthy of scientific scrutiny. Over the years, the group has cataloged thousands of sightings and conducted detailed analyses of the physical evidence, including photographs and radar data. However, the work of scientists like those at GIPN is not without its challenges. The very nature of UFO phenomena presents significant hurdles for researchers. How do you scientifically study something that is so elusive and difficult to capture? Many reports involve brief sightings or strange lights that vanish before they can be thoroughly investigated. Some cases include physical evidence, such as scorched earth or unusual radiation readings, but these occurrences are rarely repeatable, making them difficult to study in a controlled environment. Prominent scientists in France have frequently found themselves at odds with the broader scientific community, which remains largely skeptical of UFO phenomena. While some researchers have lent their names to the cause, advocating for more open-mindedness. Others have been dismissive, arguing that UFO sightings are nothing more than misidentifications of natural phenomena or man-made aircraft. The scientific method demands repeatability and predictable results, yet UFOs often defy both. In the 1980s, physicist Jacques Vallée became one of the most vocal proponents of a more open-minded approach to the phenomenon. Vallée, known for his work on the statistical analysis of UFO sightings, suggested that UFOs might not be extraterrestrial in origin, but instead represent a deeper, more mysterious aspect of human perception and experience. Vallée's ideas opened the door to broader, more philosophical discussions about the nature of reality and the limits of human understanding, encouraging a paradigm shift in how some scientists began to view the phenomenon. However, these ideas were not without controversy. Many mainstream scientists ridiculed Vallée's theories, asserting that the evidence for UFOs simply wasn't strong enough to warrant serious scientific exploration. For those involved in UFO research, this skepticism was both frustrating and familiar. They had long faced the dismissal of their work as pseudoscience, despite mounting evidence in some cases. The challenges faced by scientists investigating UFOs in France reflect a broader global skepticism. Yet, despite these obstacles, the ongoing investigations and the continued documentation of unexplained phenomena suggest that the UFO enigma remains an area of genuine scientific interest. With advancements in technology, more rigorous methodologies, and a willingness to confront the unknown, the scientific exploration of UFOs in France and around the world continues to evolve, driven by an insatiable curiosity and the desire to uncover truths that may lie beyond the limits of our current understanding. In the 1990s, France experienced a resurgence in UFO sightings that caught the attention of both the public and the scientific community. This decade saw a dramatic increase in the number of reported UFO encounters, many of which were accompanied by physical evidence, such as photographs and video footage, which was becoming more accessible due to advances in technology. The proliferation of consumer-grade camcorders, along with the advent of more sophisticated radar systems, played a crucial role in this wave of UFO reports. One of the most notable features of the 1990s UFO phenomena in France was the large number of sightings documented across the country, often involving multiple witnesses. These sightings ranged from strange lights in the sky to reports of low-flying, large craft hovering silently over villages. As more and more people started capturing these objects on film, there was a noticeable shift in how the phenomenon was perceived. What had once been dismissed as simple misidentifications of aircraft or natural phenomena was now being caught on video, providing an entirely new dimension to the conversation. In 1990, the most significant event of this wave occurred near the small town of Trans-en-Provence. A farmer, who had been working in his fields, reported seeing a disc-shaped object land in his vineyard. After the object took off, it left behind scorch marks on the ground. The sighting, which was initially met with skepticism, was later investigated by the French space agency CNES and its subsidiary Gaipan. The physical evidence left at the scene, including the scorched earth and the radioactivity detected in the soil, provided researchers with tangible data that could not be easily dismissed. This marked a significant turning point in UFO research, as it was one of the first times that such evidence had been carefully analyzed by scientific authorities in France. During this time, the role of new technology was becoming increasingly apparent. Advancements in video recording and imaging technology made it easier for witnesses to document their encounters. As camcorders became more widely available, sightings were being captured with unprecedented clarity. At the same time, radar systems in both the military and civilian sectors were becoming more sophisticated. The French Air Force began to take a more active role in monitoring UFO activity, using radar to track unidentified objects in the sky. The introduction of digital technology also allowed researchers to analyze these phenomena with a level of precision that had previously been unattainable. Despite the growing body of evidence, the French government continued to adopt a cautious stance. While Guépin's investigations were taken seriously by some, others remained skeptical of the findings. The French Ministry of Defense kept much of the information about these investigations classified, fueling suspicions of a cover-up. This only served to heighten the sense of intrigue surrounding the 1990s UFO phenomena in France, as citizens wondered why certain details were being withheld from the public. By the end of the decade, France had become a global focal point for UFO investigations. The 1990s UFO wave, combined with the increasing availability of technology to gather data, marked a pivotal moment in the ongoing exploration of the phenomenon. The era not only revealed more instances of unexplained aerial activity, but also pushed the boundaries of how such phenomena were documented and analyzed, providing a foundation for future investigations into the unknown. In the annals of UFO history, the Roswell incident of 1947 stands as the most famous and widely debated event, capturing the imagination of millions across the globe. However, lesser-known encounters in other parts of the world, including Denmark, have sparked similar intrigue, with some drawing parallels to Roswell. One such event, often referred to as Denmark's Roswell, occurred in the late 1970s, just over 3 decades after the infamous incident in New Mexico. While not as globally recognized, the event in Denmark stands out due to the secrecy and official responses that echoed the manner in which the U.S. government initially handled Roswell. In the small town of Vordingborg, a series of mysterious sightings were reported by multiple eyewitnesses. In 1976, several residents observed a glowing object in the sky that seemed to hover for an extended period before descending rapidly and disappearing into the horizon. What made this encounter particularly compelling was the consistent nature of the reports from those who witnessed the event: fishermen, farmers, and even local police officers. The object was described as being round and emitting a strange, pulsating light. While the object seemed to defy the known laws of aviation, it was the aftermath of the sighting that mirrored the Roswell incident in eerie ways. The Danish military, much like the U.S. government in 1947, responded to the event with immediate secrecy. Eyewitnesses who had reported the sighting were questioned by authorities, and many were instructed not to speak about what they had seen. Official statements from the military suggested the possibility of a misidentified aircraft or weather phenomenon. But this explanation was met with skepticism by the locals, who believed they had seen something far beyond the capabilities of known technology. Similar to the events at Roswell, the military's attempts to cover up the truth only fueled the belief that something far stranger had occurred. In the years following the Vordingborg incident, numerous individuals claimed to have witnessed the aftermath of the UFO's descent. Some farmers reported finding strange markings on the ground where the object had allegedly landed, while others claimed to have heard unusual noises and felt a strange sense of disorientation. The authorities, however, dismissed these claims as hoaxes or fabrications. But the growing number of reports, coupled with the unexplained nature of the sightings, led many to draw comparisons with the Roswell case, particularly due to the similarities in the official government response. As with Roswell, the lack of transparency surrounding the Vordingborg incident only deepened the mystery. Conspiracy theorists and UFO enthusiasts have since speculated that the Danish government, much like their American counterparts, may have been involved in a cover-up to suppress the truth about the encounter. Eyewitnesses who persisted in speaking out were often dismissed as unreliable, and any attempts to access official documents about the event were met with red tape and refusal. Over the years, The Vordingborg incident has faded into relative obscurity, overshadowed by larger UFO cases. However, it remains a compelling example of how, in the realm of UFO phenomena, similar patterns of government secrecy and public confusion seem to repeat themselves. Whether or not the Vordingborg sighting was indeed an extraterrestrial encounter remains unknown, but the parallels to the infamous Roswell case continue to spark curiosity, fueling the belief that the truth may be far stranger than what we've been told. The French Alps, known for their majestic landscapes and towering peaks, have also earned a reputation for being a hotspot of mysterious UFO activity. Over the years, the region has seen a consistent number of unexplained sightings, drawing the attention of not only local residents but also UFO enthusiasts and researchers from around the world. What makes these sightings so captivating is not just the frequency with which they occur, but the perplexing nature of the objects observed. The most famous series of sightings took place in the early 2000s, when multiple reports came in from various towns nestled in the mountains. In one instance, several hikers at Mont Blanc reported seeing a cluster of lights hovering in the sky, seemingly moving erratically before vanishing without a trace. What struck the witnesses as unusual was the precise formation of the lights. Several distinct points of light, held in an almost symmetrical pattern, floating silently above the peaks. As the hikers were miles from any major city, there was no immediate explanation for the lights. No known aircraft could have been responsible for such a strange formation, and no storms or weather phenomena seemed to fit the description. Other sightings followed, from residents of Grenoble to those in small villages around Annecy, and while some dismissed the events as misidentifications of airplanes or atmospheric phenomena, many were left baffled by the consistency and unusual nature of the sightings. These unexplained events led to local speculation that the mountains, with their remote and rugged terrain, might serve as a natural magnet for UFOs, drawing them to a region seemingly untouched by the typical hustle and bustle of urban life. Expert analysis into the matter reveals an intriguing possibility. The geography and topography of the French Alps may, in fact, play a role in the frequency of these sightings. The mountains, with their towering heights and deep valleys, create natural pockets of electromagnetic anomalies. Some theorists suggest that these anomalies might interact with the atmosphere in a way that could cause disturbances, which could be mistaken for UFO sightings. Additionally, the unique air currents in the region, coupled with the mountain's isolation, could create optical illusions, leading people to see lights and objects in the sky that don't exist, or perhaps are something much stranger. Another compelling theory comes from researchers who suggest that the remote, high-altitude locations could provide ideal locations for extraterrestrial activity. The isolation of the mountains, far from the prying eyes of major cities and industrial zones, would give any visitors to Earth an opportunity to observe our planet without detection. This theory has gained traction in light of the numerous unexplainable reports that have emerged from the region over the years. Despite these theories, there is still no concrete explanation for the mysterious UFO activity in the French Alps. Whether the phenomena are the result of natural occurrences, human-made technologies, or something more otherworldly, the sightings in the region remain a fascinating and unexplained part of UFO lore. As long as the strange lights continue to appear over the peaks and valleys, the mystery of the French Alps will persist, leaving many to wonder whether the mountains hold secrets that we are yet to understand. UFOs have become an intrinsic part of French culture, influencing everything from art and literature to popular media. Over the years, the country's rich tradition of questioning the unknown and seeking answers to life's mysteries has found a natural connection to the UFO phenomenon. The presence of UFOs in French culture goes beyond mere fascination. It has become a lens through which the national imagination explores existential questions about our place in the universe. In literature, French authors have long embraced the idea of the unknown, weaving it into tales of strange visitors from beyond the stars. The most famous example might be Jules Verne, whose pioneering works of science fiction often delved into the possibilities of alien life and interplanetary travel. Verne's influence is still felt today, as modern French writers continue to explore extraterrestrial themes, drawing on the country's historical sightings and theories about UFOs. One of the most notable contributions to the UFO narrative is in the form of books that blend fact with fiction, recounting real encounters while embedding them in thrilling, often philosophical tales. Writers such as Bernard Werber have taken this further by using UFO sightings as a backdrop to ponder questions about humanity's evolution, its relationship with other intelligent species, and the nature of consciousness itself. French cinema, too, has found a lasting interest in extraterrestrial phenomena. Classic films like The Visitors, 1993, a comedy about time-traveling aliens, and The Host, 2006, a drama exploring the invasion of an unknown species, reflect the country's ongoing engagement with the unknown. While these films take creative liberties, they also echo the long-standing national interest in UFOs, often blending elements of fear, wonder, and humor. France's alien-themed films, much like its literary works, tend to reflect the deep philosophical questions surrounding UFOs. Are we alone? If there are other intelligent life forms, do they pose a threat, or can they offer us something greater? These questions not only entertain but encourage the audience to confront their own perceptions about our place in the universe. Beyond the world of fiction, UFO sightings have deeply affected the French national consciousness. In the 1950s, as UFO sightings began to escalate, particularly during the famous 1954 wave, there was a public sense of urgency and curiosity surrounding the phenomenon. People began to question their reality, inspired by the idea that Earth may be under observation by beings from another world. This became a topic of conversation in cafes and at dinner tables, and was not just a fringe interest for conspiracy theorists, but a national topic of speculation. Even the French government took notice, with officials creating GEI-PAN, a group for the study and information of unidentified aerospace phenomena, further cementing the importance of UFOs in the national psyche. The presence of UFOs in French culture has shifted over time from a sense of awe and terror to one of acceptance and intrigue. Sightings continue to stir the imaginations of many, and the discussion around UFOs has moved from the shadows of conspiracy into the mainstream. They remain a powerful symbol, a reminder of humanity's endless search for knowledge and understanding, as well as the unsettling realization that there may be forces beyond our comprehension. This has shaped the way the French see not only the sky above, but also the mysteries of existence. UFOs, in all their varied forms, continue to challenge our perceptions, urging us to ask, what lies beyond our own world? In Denmark, the phenomenon of close encounters with UFOs has left a profound mark on both the individuals who experienced them and the broader society. These encounters, which have ranged from brief sightings to prolonged, intense interactions, have sparked fear, awe, and curiosity. But the impact on the people who lived through these experiences often runs deeper, shaping their perceptions of reality and forcing them to confront questions they had never imagined. One of the most striking aspects of close encounters in Denmark is the psychological toll they take on those involved. Witnesses to these events often describe the experience in terms of being changed forever. For some, these encounters create a deep sense of isolation, as the individuals feel that they are now part of an exclusive group who knows something the rest of the world does not. This realization can be both a burden and a gift, leaving witnesses questioning their own sanity and the reality of what they have seen. The dissonance between their once normal lives and the extraordinary events they witnessed can lead to feelings of paranoia or anxiety, sometimes even affecting their ability to function in everyday society. For others, these close encounters are transformative, giving rise to a newfound sense of purpose or understanding. They may feel as though they have glimpsed something greater than themselves, a truth that defies logic and science. These individuals may seek answers in the paranormal community, turning to support groups, UFO researchers, and online forums to make sense of their experiences. They often become vocal advocates for the UFO phenomenon, driven by a desire to share their stories and shed light on what they believe is an unacknowledged truth. This can lead to a shift in their identity, as they embrace the role of a witness or even a whistleblower, someone tasked with revealing the hidden realities of extraterrestrial life. Societally, the impact of these encounters in Denmark has been more subtle, though no less significant. Despite the country's generally skeptical stance on UFOs, there is an undeniable undercurrent of interest in these phenomena. When individuals come forward with stories of close encounters, they often face skepticism, ridicule, or dismissal from the mainstream public. However, as these encounters become more widespread and documented, there is a gradual shift in public consciousness. People begin to ask questions, not just about the nature of the sightings themselves, but also about the implications of these experiences for human understanding of the cosmos. Media coverage of close encounters in Denmark has fluctuated over the years, but in recent times, there has been an increased willingness to engage with the topic in a more serious and open-minded way. Documentaries, books, and news segments have featured testimonies from those who have had close encounters, while scientific and government institutions have also started to show a greater interest in investigating the phenomenon. Yet, for many, the encounters remain deeply personal, with witnesses sometimes finding more comfort in sharing their experiences with those who have had similar encounters rather than with the wider public. The societal impact of these encounters is far-reaching, as they challenge long-held beliefs about human existence and our place in the universe. Close encounters in Denmark have forced people to confront the possibility that we may not be alone in the universe, and in doing so, they have sparked a broader conversation about humanity's future and the mysteries that lie beyond the stars. In both Denmark and France, photographs allegedly showing UFOs have stirred up heated debates, captivating the public's imagination while raising questions about their authenticity. These images, often taken by casual observers or dedicated UFO enthusiasts, range from blurry, indistinct shapes to detailed, well-framed objects that seem to defy conventional explanation. The existence of such photographs has played a crucial role in how the UFO phenomenon is perceived, but their authenticity is often contested, leaving a trail of skepticism, intrigue, and speculation. The analysis of these photographs reveals a complex web of possibilities. Some images show small, disc-like objects hovering above fields or cities, while others depict larger, more structured craft, sometimes accompanied by strange lights or unusual atmospheric effects. In Denmark, one of the most famous photographs emerged from a rural area, capturing what appeared to be a metallic object with sharp angles against a bright blue sky. In France, a series of photographs taken during a UFO wave in the 1990s featured luminous, glowing crafts darting across the horizon, often at high speeds. Both sets of images have been scrutinized by experts and laypeople alike, with interpretations ranging from optical illusions to experimental aircraft. Photographs like these spark curiosity about their authenticity. Skeptics often point to the lack of clear, unambiguous details, blurry edges, unusual lighting, or strange reflections as evidence that these images may have been doctored or misinterpreted. Modern technology, such as Photoshop and other photo editing tools, makes it easier than ever to alter images, which casts doubt on the veracity of any photograph claiming to show UFOs. In some cases, experts have suggested that the objects in question could be mundane phenomena, such as weather balloons, airplanes, or even natural atmospheric effects like lens flares or reflections on windows. Yet, for many, the questions surrounding these photographs are more profound. Some argue that even if these images cannot be definitively proven to be of extraterrestrial origin, they nonetheless challenge our understanding of what is possible in the skies. The photographs, regardless of their authenticity, contribute to a growing body of evidence that something anomalous is happening, something that defies simple explanation. In a world where technology can capture every moment, the possibility that something extraordinary can go unnoticed, even in a photograph, becomes tantalizing. Furthermore, the implications of these photographs go beyond questions of authenticity. They represent a collective yearning to understand the unknown. For the witnesses and those who believe in their validity, these images are not just photographs. They are fragments of a larger, more mysterious reality. They are glimpses into a world where the boundaries between the familiar and the unfamiliar blur. Whether or not these photographs depict alien craft, they raise questions about our place in the universe and what, or who, might be observing us from the skies. As more and more images surface, often accompanied by testimonies from those who were present at the time, the line between skepticism and belief grows increasingly difficult to draw. These photographs, while far from conclusive, serve as compelling pieces of a puzzle that may one day reveal truths about the phenomenon of UFOs and their potential connection to extraterrestrial life. Until then, they remain a powerful symbol of humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown. In both Denmark and France, the idea that UFOs could be linked to time loops has fascinated many theorists, sparking a mix of scientific inquiry and philosophical speculation. These theories suggest that the phenomena observed in the skies may not just be interstellar visitors, but could potentially be manifestations of time itself, distortions or anomalies created by rifts in the fabric of space-time. The concept of time loops, often depicted in science fiction, implies that certain events could be revisited or trapped in an endless cycle, repeating themselves in ways that defy our understanding of linear time. The link between UFO sightings and time loops emerged from unusual patterns in the sightings themselves. In some cases, eyewitnesses reported seeing objects that appeared to come from different points in time, craft seemingly materializing out of nowhere or vanishing without a trace, only to reappear moments later. In Denmark, certain sightings were described in such a way that it seemed as if the UFOs were repeating the same actions over and over, almost as if caught in a loop. Similarly, in rural areas of France, there were reports of glowing objects that appeared to move in a circular or repetitive fashion across the sky, as though traveling back and forth through time. These behaviors raised questions. Could it be that these craft were not only from another world, but perhaps from another time? One of the more intriguing aspects of this theory involves the idea of temporal rifts, areas where time behaves erratically. Such phenomena could potentially explain the oddities associated with UFOs, such as the reported acceleration and deceleration of craft, their sudden appearances and disappearances, or even their ability to seemingly defy conventional laws of physics. If time loops were at play, these objects might not be extraterrestrial crafts at all, but rather time travelers from the future, trapped in a cyclical loop, repeatedly passing through the same moments in history. The scientific ramifications of the UFO time loop theory would challenge much of what we understand about space-time. Time, as theorized in modern physics, is not a simple, linear concept, but is deeply interconnected with space, creating what is known as space-time. If certain regions of this space-time continuum were manipulated, whether through advanced technology or naturally occurring anomalies, it could theoretically create loops or distortions where events repeat or overlap. This would align with the more bizarre accounts of UFO encounters, where witnesses describe feeling a sense of déjà vu or encountering the same craft in different places, yet at different times. Philosophically, the notion of time loops tied to UFOs challenges our fundamental perception of reality. If these phenomena are indeed temporal in nature, it would force humanity to reconsider its place in the universe and the nature of time itself. Are we merely observing visitors from the future, or are we somehow caught in a loop of history that we cannot escape? The implications of such a theory would not only upend our understanding of UFOs, but would also force a reevaluation of human existence and its relationship to the concept of time. Whether or not UFOs in Denmark and France are tied to time loops remains a mystery. However, the theory opens the door to endless possibilities, raising profound questions about the nature of time, space, and the universe, while offering a tantalizing glimpse into a reality where the lines between past, present, and future blur. In recent years, the close encounters of the fifth kind, CE5 movement, has grown significantly in both Denmark and France, sparking a new wave of UFO enthusiasts and researchers committed to making direct contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Unlike traditional UFO research, which often focuses on sightings or physical evidence, the CE5 movement centers on human-initiated contact, where individuals attempt to reach out to extraterrestrial beings through meditation, thought projection, and peaceful intentions. It is a movement that seeks to transform the traditional narrative of passive observation into active participation, empowering those involved to engage with what they believe to be an intergalactic community. In Denmark, the CE5 movement has gained traction over the past decade, with small but dedicated groups forming in rural areas known for their quiet nights and clear skies. These groups gather regularly to practice the techniques outlined by Dr. Stephen Greer, the founder of the CE5 initiative, whose philosophy emphasizes that contact with extraterrestrial civilizations is possible through calm and focused mental intent. Activists within these groups are often quick to share their stories, recounting moments when, under the right conditions, unusual lights or craft appeared above them in the night sky, seemingly in response to their collective efforts. One of the most common experiences shared by participants is a feeling of connection and peace, with many reporting a deep sense of unity with the universe. In France, the CE5 movement has also taken hold, particularly in the more remote regions of the country. The areas surrounding the Pyrenees Mountains and the foothills of Provence have become popular sites for CE5 activists. Researchers and experiencers alike speak of a growing sense of community and openness in these gatherings, which are sometimes held in the late evening, where people come together to meditate and focus their energy on peaceful communication. Many participants are drawn not just by a curiosity about the possibility of extraterrestrial life, but by a desire for profound personal transformation. The movement has gained popularity in France's spiritual circles, where a belief in the interconnectedness of all things aligns with the CE5 philosophy. Interviews with CE5 activists from both countries reveal a common theme: the overwhelming belief that humanity is not alone, and that making direct contact with extraterrestrial civilizations is within our reach. These activists emphasize the importance of meditation and mental discipline, advocating for a non-aggressive approach to contact. The idea that extraterrestrial beings might respond to the peaceful intentions of humans seems to have captured the imaginations of many in these countries. Some activists believe that extraterrestrials are monitoring humanity's progress, and that contact will occur only when humanity is ready to embrace peace and understanding. However, the movement has not been without skepticism. Some researchers question the authenticity of the sightings and encounters reported during CE5 events, suggesting that they might be the result of psychological phenomena, such as collective hallucinations, or even deliberate hoaxes. Despite these doubts, the CE5 movement continues to attract new members, especially as people seek deeper connections with the unknown. The CE5 phenomenon in Denmark and France is not just about UFO sightings. It is about building a community of like-minded individuals dedicated to exploring the possibility of peaceful, conscious contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. Whether these encounters are the result of interdimensional beings, human consciousness, or something else entirely remains unknown. Yet for those involved in the CE5 movement, the question is less about the outcome and more about the belief that humanity is capable of reaching out to the stars. The 1980s marked a pivotal decade for UFO sightings in France, an era characterized by a dramatic surge in unexplained aerial phenomena. The reports, which began to pour in from across the country, spoke of strange lights in the sky, unusual craft hovering above fields, and even close encounters that left witnesses both terrified and bewildered. What made this invasion particularly notable was the overwhelming number of sightings that seemed to span a vast geographical area, from rural farmlands to urban centers, all occurring with such frequency that the media began to take notice. Throughout the decade, France experienced an unprecedented uptick in UFO reports, especially between 1980 and 1985. One of the most widely reported cases during this period occurred in the French countryside, where multiple witnesses described seeing triangular-shaped craft that emitted a low, humming sound. These mysterious craft were said to hover in complete silence, only to vanish into the night sky before any authorities could arrive. It was as if these entities were playing a cat-and-mouse game with the very people attempting to document them. As the frequency of these reports increased, the media began to play a crucial role in shaping public perception of the phenomena. Newspapers, radio shows, and television programs began to cover the sightings, with some outlets sensationalizing the events, fueling widespread public fascination. Documentaries exploring the mystery of UFOs in France became prime-time television hits, while investigative journalists raced to uncover what was behind the spate of sightings. These media reports often depicted the UFOs as a mysterious force beyond human understanding, which led to a growing fear in some segments of the population and a sense of awe in others. It was not long before UFO sightings were no longer just a niche topic for enthusiasts but a subject of national conversation, discussed openly in public forums and at dinner tables. Despite the attention the media brought to the issue, official responses were mixed. While some government officials dismissed the reports as hoaxes or the result of misidentified aircraft, the French military took the matter more seriously. In response to growing concern and an increasing number of reports, the French government established a formal investigation into the UFO phenomenon. This led to the creation of the Group for the Study and Information on Unidentified Aerospace Phenomena, GIPAN, a branch of the French space agency CNES tasked with investigating UFO reports. However, many researchers and witnesses felt that the official investigations were too limited in scope and lacked transparency, with some accusing the government of downplaying the true nature of the phenomena to avoid public panic. The combination of media sensationalism and government investigations created a paradoxical situation for the public. On the one hand, the media coverage of UFO sightings in France brought a sense of excitement and wonder to many, offering the tantalizing possibility that extraterrestrial life might be visiting Earth. On the other hand, the government's reluctance to acknowledge the unexplained nature of these occurrences only deepened suspicions, leading some to believe that there was more being hidden from the public. As the decade drew to a close, the UFO invasion of the 1980s left a lasting imprint on the national psyche. It created a new wave of interest in the possibility of extraterrestrial life, one that would continue to shape French UFO culture in the years to come. Yet, despite the flurry of media attention and government investigations, the true nature of the phenomena remained elusive, leaving the questions of what was really happening in the French skies unanswered and shrouded in mystery. The Black Triangle UFO phenomenon has become one of the most compelling and persistent mysteries in the study of unexplained aerial phenomena. Throughout both Denmark and France, numerous eyewitnesses have reported seeing large, silent, black triangular-shaped craft gliding across the skies. Their dark, imposing silhouettes often illuminated only by the occasional starlight or the soft glow of city lights. These craft, often described as enormous and hovering low to the ground, seemed to possess advanced technology far beyond the capabilities of any known human aircraft, leaving behind a sense of awe and confusion in the minds of those who witnessed them. The sightings of these black triangle UFOs were particularly prevalent during the 1990s and into the early 2000s, with notable reports emerging from rural areas as well as urban centers. Witnesses described the triangles as having sharp, angular edges and large, brightly lit points at each corner, often described as amber or white. The craft were said to move silently, with no discernible sound accompanying their slow, deliberate movements. In many cases, the UFOs were seen to float effortlessly over roads, fields, and even cities before disappearing into the night without leaving a trace. Such sightings were not isolated to just one country. Both Denmark and France saw a surge in reports, with a striking similarity in the descriptions given by witnesses. This shared pattern across two different countries suggested that the phenomenon was not just a local or isolated event, but perhaps a wider, global occurrence. Many theories have emerged over the years regarding the origin and purpose of these black triangle UFOs. Some suggest that these craft may be of extraterrestrial origin, designed by alien civilizations to observe or interact with Earth. The sleek, stealthy nature of the craft, coupled with their ability to remain undetected by radar or conventional technology, points to a level of technological advancement far beyond human capabilities. For those who support the idea of alien visitation, the black triangles are seen as an advanced form of reconnaissance craft, quietly observing humanity from above without drawing attention to themselves. Others, however, argue that the black triangles may be human-made, part of a secret military project developed by world governments. Theories surrounding advanced military aircraft, particularly in the context of classified aerospace technology, have long circulated in UFO circles. Some speculate that these black triangles are part of a covert program to develop stealth aircraft that are capable of evading detection by conventional means. These theories suggest that the government may be testing experimental flying machines or conducting reconnaissance missions using aircraft that are designed to remain unnoticed by radar systems. The triangular shape, which is often linked to stealth technology, further fuels this hypothesis, as it would minimize the radar signature of such craft, making them less detectable by enemy systems. Despite the numerous theories, the truth about the origin and purpose of the black triangle UFOs remains elusive. Skeptics argue that many of these sightings can be explained by misidentified aircraft, balloons, or even atmospheric phenomena. However, the consistency of the reports, the widespread nature of the sightings, and the strange behavior of the craft all contribute to the continued mystery. As technology advances and more data is gathered, the question of what these black triangles are and what they represent may one day be answered. Until then, the phenomenon remains a perplexing and captivating enigma, fueling both intrigue and speculation across Denmark, France, and beyond. In recent years, the role of documentaries in France's journey toward UFO disclosure has been pivotal in shifting public perception and encouraging a broader acceptance of the unexplained. The influence of these films, often filled with first-hand accounts, expert testimony, and compelling visuals, has led many to question long-standing government secrecy on the subject of unidentified aerial phenomena. Over the decades, UFO sightings were often dismissed as hoaxes or misidentifications. But with the release of well-researched documentaries, the narrative began to shift. These films did more than just present evidence. They ignited curiosity, fostered dialogue, and paved the way for a more open conversation about the possibility that humanity might not be alone in the universe. The release of several high-profile documentaries in France brought the UFO phenomenon to a wider audience, pulling it out of niche conspiracy circles and into the mainstream. Documentaries such as Le Dossier Secret and others that followed were among the first to publicly showcase government documents, military reports, and personal accounts of UFO encounters that had long been classified or ignored by official channels. These films offered rare glimpses into a world of UFO phenomena that had previously been shrouded in secrecy, and in doing so, they presented undeniable evidence that many encounters had remained unexplained by conventional means. The French public, once largely indifferent or skeptical, was now confronted with a new reality. A reality in which UFOs were no longer the stuff of fantasy, but a topic that warranted serious consideration. The impact of these documentaries on French society has been profound. As UFO evidence began to surface on screen, it sparked heated debates and a shift in societal attitudes. UFOs, once ridiculed or written off as figments of imagination, were now being taken more seriously by a growing number of citizens. The films helped normalize the conversation, making it easier for individuals to share their own experiences without fear of judgment. This acceptance extended beyond the general public to the scientific community, with more researchers, journalists, and even former government officials beginning to come forward with their knowledge and experiences. In many ways, these documentaries functioned as a catalyst for change, bringing UFO discourse from the margins of society into the public eye. The media's role in publicizing UFO evidence also played a crucial part in shifting the conversation. French documentaries, often paired with in-depth investigative reports and news coverage, provided a platform for people to witness first-hand accounts of encounters that defied explanation. This newfound exposure encouraged the French government to acknowledge the need for more transparency and, in some cases, to declassify documents related to UFOs. While full disclosure remains elusive, the release of previously confidential material has led to a rethinking of the government's position on the issue. Ultimately, the societal impact of these documentaries has been far-reaching. They have empowered individuals to question the status quo, to demand more answers, and to recognize that the UFO phenomena may hold secrets that extend beyond national borders or conventional explanations. As more evidence continues to emerge, it seems clear that the role of these documentaries in France's UFO disclosure journey has only just begun, and their legacy will continue to shape the ongoing conversation about extraterrestrial life for years to come. The military's involvement in UFO sightings has been a subject of much intrigue and speculation in both Denmark and France. Over the years, there have been numerous reports of unidentified flying objects detected by military personnel or captured on radar, sparking questions about the role of the armed forces in handling these phenomena. In both countries, the military's response to UFO sightings has often been one of cautious acknowledgement, followed by swift efforts to downplay or even dismiss the significance of the events. This pattern of behavior has only fueled conspiracy theories and allegations of military cover-ups, leaving many to wonder just how much information is being withheld from the public. In Denmark, the military has been involved in several high-profile UFO encounters, particularly in the 1950s and 1960s. Many of these sightings were made by trained personnel, such as radar operators, who reported seeing strange objects in the sky that defied conventional explanation. Despite the credibility of these reports, official responses often took a skeptical tone. The Danish military frequently cited natural explanations for the sightings, such as weather balloons or aircraft misidentifications. However, as more and more sightings were reported, including those involving radar tracking, the government and military found themselves under increasing pressure to address the phenomenon more seriously. Yet, even when UFOs were acknowledged, the military's lack of transparency regarding its findings fueled suspicions that there were efforts to suppress more concrete evidence. France, too, has a long history of military involvement in UFO phenomena. The country's military has been actively engaged in investigating unexplained aerial phenomena, especially during the wave of sightings in the 1950s and 1960s. The French Air Force has publicly acknowledged that it investigated reports of UFOs, though, like Denmark, the official stance often leaned toward dismissing them as either hoaxes or misidentifications. However, the creation of the Gepan Group for the Study and Information on Unidentified Aerospace Phenomena in 1977 signaled a shift toward a more structured approach to the study of UFOs. This governmental body was tasked with collecting, analyzing, and investigating UFO sightings across the country. Despite this more formal approach, Gepan's investigations were still shrouded in secrecy, leading to accusations that important data and findings were being withheld from the public. Allegations of military cover-ups have been persistent in both countries. Many witnesses, particularly those who were directly involved in the military's radar operations or air defense, have come forward with stories of encounters with UFOs that were never properly investigated or, in some cases, actively suppressed. These accounts point to a pattern of systematic disinformation, in which the military downplays the significance of the sightings, often labeling them as classified or irrelevant. These actions have led to suspicions that the military knows far more about the UFO phenomenon than it is willing to reveal. The implications of these cover-ups are significant. If UFOs are indeed of extraterrestrial origin, as some believe, the military's reluctance to fully disclose information could be seen as a means of controlling the public's understanding of these phenomena, potentially for reasons of national security or to avoid panic. In the end, the military's involvement in UFO sightings, coupled with the ongoing allegations of cover-ups, continues to stir controversy and speculation. For many, the secrecy surrounding UFO investigations only deepens the mystery, prompting further questions about the true nature of the phenomenon and why the military has chosen to remain tight-lipped for so long. The implications of these cover-ups, whether intentional or not, have the potential to reshape our understanding of the universe and our place in it. The theory that alien bases exist beneath the surface of France is a topic that has captured the imagination of UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists alike. Proponents of this theory suggest that the French countryside, with its vast, unexplored underground networks, could be hiding extraterrestrial civilizations. The idea stems from various UFO sightings, unexplained phenomena, and rumors that have circulated for decades. These rumors often point to the remote regions of France, particularly in areas known for unusual geological formations or areas where high levels of electromagnetic activity have been reported. Some believe that beneath these unassuming landscapes, alien craft or beings have been residing, conducting experiments, and monitoring Earth's inhabitants. One of the most discussed locations in relation to this theory is the area surrounding the Pyrenees Mountains, where several unexplained UFO sightings have been reported over the years. Locals have spoken of strange lights in the sky, and even more bizarre happenings like disruptions in electrical devices and strange sounds emanating from the ground itself. There have also been whispers of mysterious government cover-ups, with some claiming that French authorities are aware of these hidden alien bases but have chosen to keep the information classified to avoid public panic. Skeptics argue that these claims are simply the product of overactive imaginations and suggest that the sightings could be linked to military or experimental aircraft rather than extraterrestrial visitors. However, the lack of definitive explanations has left room for speculation. Interviews with experts in the UFO field reveal a divide of opinion on the subject. Some researchers believe that the underground alien base theory is plausible, citing accounts from people who claim to have encountered or interacted with beings near remote mountain ranges. These individuals often describe seeing unusual craft entering or exiting the Earth's surface, or claiming to have witnessed underground facilities with advanced technology. A handful of self-proclaimed whistleblowers have also come forward, alleging that they were involved in secret government operations that had direct links to extraterrestrial presence in these areas. One such individual is Jean-Luc, a former geologist who worked in the Pyrenees region and claims to have stumbled upon a network of caves that seem to be more than just natural formations. Jean-Luc's account is chilling. He describes strange noises that seem to echo from deep within the earth, followed by the unmistakable hum of machinery. He also reported seeing shadowy figures that did not resemble typical human shapes. Jean-Luc's story, along with others like it, has been met with skepticism by the scientific community, but it remains one of the more compelling pieces of the alien base puzzle. As with many UFO theories, the idea of alien bases beneath France is highly controversial. Some see it as an elaborate hoax designed to stir up fear and intrigue, while others believe there is a kernel of truth hidden beneath layers of government secrecy and misinformation. What remains certain, however, is that the fascination with extraterrestrial life and its potential connection to France's underground remains an ever-growing mystery. While hard evidence is scarce, the persistent reports and the unwavering belief of certain witnesses continue to fuel the speculation, ensuring that the theory of alien bases beneath France will remain a fixture of UFO lore for years to come. UFO sightings by airline pilots have long been a subject of intrigue, particularly when they involve experienced professionals whose credibility is difficult to question. In both France and Denmark, there have been numerous reports from pilots flying commercial airliners who have witnessed strange, unexplainable phenomena while navigating their aircraft through the skies. These sightings range from unexplained lights in the sky to unidentified flying objects that seem to defy the laws of physics. What sets these accounts apart from others is the fact that the witnesses are trained professionals, often with decades of experience, who have a deep understanding of what constitutes normal and abnormal air traffic behavior. One of the most significant UFO reports came from a pilot flying over French airspace in the 1990s. The captain of a commercial flight traveling at high altitude reported seeing a formation of lights moving in ways that defied conventional flight patterns. According to the pilot, the lights appeared to hover and change direction suddenly, all while maintaining a steady speed. The sighting lasted several minutes, during which time the crew attempted to contact air traffic control, but the object did not appear on radar. When the pilot landed, he filed an official report with the French aviation authorities, but the case remains officially unexplained to this day. Other pilots flying through the same airspace have made similar reports, fueling ongoing speculation about the presence of unidentified craft in French skies. In Denmark, a particularly compelling sighting occurred in 2006, when a pilot flying over the Jutland Peninsula observed a strange object moving alongside the plane at a very high speed. According to the pilot's account, the object appeared to be a metallic, disc-shaped craft that matched the description of a classic flying saucer. What made the sighting particularly unnerving was the fact that the UFO appeared to be matching the flight path of the aircraft, as if it were tracking it. The pilot attempted to communicate with other nearby aircraft, but no one else reported seeing the object. After landing, the pilot's report was dismissed as a possible malfunction of the plane's instruments or an optical illusion. But many who heard the story found it difficult to disregard, especially given the professionalism of the pilot involved. Aviation authorities in both countries have been notably hesitant to engage fully with UFO sightings reported by airline pilots. While some incidents are officially documented, they are often attributed to misidentified weather phenomena, meteorological balloons, or other explainable causes. The challenge of confirming these sightings lies in the fact that many occur at high altitudes, outside the scope of radar detection, and often involve objects that don't appear on standard flight monitoring systems. In some cases, pilots have been encouraged to remain silent on the subject, especially if their sighting deviates from official narratives about air traffic and aviation safety. The lack of transparency and accountability from aviation authorities has only added fuel to the fire for those who believe that the truth about UFOs is being deliberately hidden. For many of these pilots, the experience of seeing something unexplainable in the sky is an unsettling one that challenges their perception of reality. Yet, despite the overwhelming testimonies, the task of confirming these sightings remains elusive. As the debate continues, one thing is certain. The number of UFO sightings by professional pilots in both French and Danish airspace is a growing and unexplained phenomenon that deserves greater attention from those tasked with investigating aerial anomalies. In the 21st century, Denmark has witnessed a resurgence of UFO sightings that has reignited public interest and speculation about extraterrestrial phenomena. While Denmark has a long history of isolated UFO encounters, the past 2 decades have seen a notable increase in reports, especially from rural and coastal areas. The sightings have ranged from mysterious lights in the sky to encounters with unidentified craft that appear to exhibit unusual flight patterns. For many Danes, these modern-day sightings have been both puzzling and unsettling, raising questions about whether these events could be linked to a broader, global phenomenon, or if there is something uniquely significant about Denmark's place in these encounters. The first wave of sightings in the new millennium began to take shape in the early 2000s, with reports concentrated along Denmark's western coastline. Fishermen, sailors, and farmers were the first to notice strange, flickering lights on the horizon during the night, often visible for hours without explanation. These sightings were quickly dismissed as mere atmospheric anomalies, but as more reports came in from different parts of the country, the pattern became harder to ignore. As the sightings continued, the descriptions from witnesses started to converge. Many reported seeing disc-shaped objects hovering in the sky, performing maneuvers that would be impossible for conventional aircraft to replicate. These objects, according to some accounts, would suddenly accelerate at an astounding speed, defying the laws of physics. The Danish military's response to these sightings has been mixed, often downplaying the significance of the reports. However, as the frequency of UFO encounters increased, particularly around major urban centers like Copenhagen, local authorities began to take notice. Civilian UFO research groups, who had been quiet for years, found themselves reinvigorated by the influx of testimonies. Researchers began to analyze the patterns of these sightings, suggesting that the objects might be linked to an increase in space activity or even the result of undisclosed military experiments. Some theorists believe that the rise in sightings could be related to the global surge in technological advancements, which have allowed for a better understanding of our atmosphere and improved detection of anomalies in the sky. Interestingly, some of the reports coincided with recent technological developments in Denmark. The increased use of drones and surveillance satellites may have inadvertently shed light on objects previously undetected. As modern-day technologies and high-definition cameras become more accessible, people are capturing footage of strange aerial phenomena that were once dismissed as impossible to photograph. This new wave of documentation has provided concrete evidence for the theory that UFO sightings are becoming more frequent, not necessarily because there are more UFOs, but because we are finally able to capture them with technology that wasn't available in the past. While the resurgence of UFO sightings in Denmark cannot yet be fully explained, there are patterns emerging that suggest a connection between these modern encounters and earlier reports from the 1960s and 1970s. Whether these recent sightings are part of a larger trend of extraterrestrial observation, a reaction to human activities on Earth, or simply a case of misidentified phenomena, one thing is clear: Denmark's skies remain a hotbed of unexplained mysteries. As more witnesses come forward with their accounts and more footage emerges, the debate over the true nature of these sightings is likely to intensify, with some asking whether the truth is finally beginning to reveal itself. As we look ahead, The future of UFO disclosure in France appears to be on the cusp of a major transformation. The past decades have seen a steady stream of reports and testimonies, but the shift toward more open discussions is likely to escalate. France, long a leader in UFO research, has seen a rise in the public's demand for transparency, and as both the scientific community and the government show increasing signs of openness, the next decade promises to be a crucial time for UFO revelations. Experts and whistleblowers alike suggest that the phenomenon will no longer be relegated to fringe discussions, but will instead become a central topic in scientific, governmental, and societal debates. One of the driving forces behind the likely evolution of UFO disclosure in France is the continuing declassification of government and military documents. France's National Center for Space Studies, CNES, through its Group for the Study and Information on Unidentified Aerospace Phenomena, GIPAN, has long worked to study UFOs from an academic perspective. With more data being made available to the public, it's becoming evident that the government no longer views UFOs solely as a threat or a topic best left behind closed doors. Whistleblowers from various sectors have been providing crucial information, with insiders from both the military and civilian sectors giving first-hand accounts that suggest more is known than has been officially acknowledged. Several experts predict that over the next decade, France will likely experience a significant shift in its approach to the UFO phenomenon. The growing number of countries now engaging with the idea of extraterrestrial life and phenomena, including the recent uptick in UFO-related hearings in the United States, puts France in a unique position to join the global conversation. There is a belief that in the coming years, France may follow the lead of other nations, offering up its own secrets and insights into the nature of UFOs, their potential origin, and the global implications of their existence. As technological advancements in space exploration continue, it's expected that France's role in these revelations will expand, bringing with it more in-depth investigations into the aerial phenomena that have puzzled the world for decades. But perhaps one of the most profound aspects of the upcoming decade is the potential for ordinary citizens to become more involved in the search for answers. As UFO sightings continue to be recorded and shared globally, it's expected that there will be an increasing shift in the way France views its role in the larger UFO discussion. No longer just a subject for specialists, UFO phenomena will likely become part of everyday conversation, pushing societal acceptance of the unexplained to new levels. Some whistleblowers, including former government and military officials, predict that new discoveries could include the revelation of extraterrestrial contact or the unveiling of technological advancements that have been kept secret for decades. The next decade in France, therefore, may not only be defined by the continued study of UFOs, but also by an accelerating shift in the public's perception of the phenomenon. With a growing thirst for transparency, the coming years could reveal not only more sightings, but a greater understanding of the enigmatic visitors in our skies. As new evidence surfaces and public interest intensifies, the question remains: will we finally be ready to accept the reality of what has been concealed for so long? The psychological impact of UFO sightings is a complex and often underestimated aspect of the phenomenon. Witnesses who encounter unexplained aerial phenomena frequently experience profound shifts in their mental health and belief systems, sometimes leading to lifelong effects. In Denmark and France, these sightings have left indelible marks on those who have witnessed them, prompting a mix of awe, fear, and confusion. While some might dismiss the experiences as mere hallucinations or misinterpretations, the emotional and psychological responses of those involved tell a very different story. Many experiencers report a range of emotions that persist long after the event. These can include anxiety, depression, confusion, and even a sense of alienation. For some, the encounter becomes an all-consuming obsession, a search for meaning in a world that suddenly feels unfamiliar. The sheer mystery of the unknown creates a psychological tension that lingers, and many experiencers feel isolated in their experiences, unsure of where to turn for validation. For these individuals, the sense of isolation is profound, as the world around them often refuses to acknowledge or accept the reality of what they've witnessed. Psychologists who have worked with UFO experiencers describe a range of reactions that go beyond simple curiosity. Some individuals experience a shift in their belief systems, with many questioning the fabric of reality itself. What once seemed like concrete understanding of the world is suddenly open to doubt, and the lines between reality and the unknown become blurred. This shift can lead to a heightened sense of spirituality, or an increased interest in existential questions about life, the universe, and human purpose. In some cases, it has even led to a profound transformation in worldview, with experiencers embracing a sense of purpose tied to their encounter. In both Denmark and France, several psychologists have worked closely with those who have witnessed UFOs, aiming to help them process the emotional and psychological fallout of their experiences. Dr. Anne Dupuy, a French psychologist who has studied the impact of these sightings on mental health, explained that one of the most common emotional reactions is a deep sense of fear, often accompanied by feelings of helplessness. Witnesses often feel small, insignificant, in the face of something so inexplicable. Dr. Dupuy noted, it can challenge their very understanding of reality. The fear isn't always about the beings themselves, but about the realization that there are forces beyond our control. Many witnesses also experience a sense of awe or wonder, which, while not inherently harmful, can lead to obsessive thoughts and behaviors. For some, the experience becomes an overwhelming need for answers. Interviews with those who have had close encounters reveal a desire to make sense of what they've seen, even if it means altering their previous belief systems entirely. This quest for understanding often leads to further exploration of UFO-related material, paranormal phenomena, or even a deeper dive into spirituality or metaphysics. In both countries, the psychological toll of UFO sightings is a subject of increasing interest. While some experiencers integrate the encounter into their lives, the mental health community continues to explore the long-term effects of these profound and sometimes disturbing experiences. Whether through fear, curiosity, or spiritual awakening, the psychological impact of witnessing something beyond comprehension remains a key part of the ongoing UFO discourse in Denmark and France. The question remains, what does it mean to confront the unknown? And how do we continue to integrate such experiences into our understanding of ourselves and the world around us? The unexplained phenomena surrounding UFO sightings in Denmark and France remain one of the most compelling and mysterious subjects of contemporary intrigue. From the first recorded encounters to the more recent sightings by airline pilots and civilians, these events have woven a complex tapestry of questions, speculation, and fascination. Despite decades of investigations, public interest, and occasional government acknowledgement, the full truth behind these sightings remains elusive. Whether it is the eerie lights in the skies over Copenhagen, the strange aerial craft reported by military personnel, or the recurring presence of UFOs in rural villages in both countries, each instance leaves more questions than answers. Throughout this book, we've explored a wide array of UFO phenomena that have baffled both witnesses and experts alike. From early sightings in Denmark, where local residents shared vivid descriptions of objects seemingly beyond human technology, to the legendary French incidents that have captured global attention, the mystery persists. The French government, while more open to investigations through agencies like GIPAN, has still yet to provide a definitive conclusion on the hundreds of unexplained cases. Meanwhile, Denmark's sightings, often dismissed by skeptics, have gathered their own following, with some of the most intriguing radar data still being scrutinized by those who believe in extraterrestrial involvement. The unresolved nature of these phenomena presents an ongoing puzzle for researchers and enthusiasts. Despite advances in technology and new methods for tracking aerial objects, many questions remain unanswered. How is it that UFOs can perform maneuvers that defy known principles of aerodynamics? Why do certain regions, like the French Alps or Denmark's coastal areas, seem to attract these unexplained occurrences with such frequency? And perhaps most importantly, who or what is behind the phenomena that continue to appear, uninvited, in our skies? The lack of definitive answers has not dampened the curiosity surrounding these events, but instead has fueled further investigations. As more and more whistleblowers, experts, and experiencers come forward with their stories, the calls for greater transparency and deeper exploration have grown louder. Will future investigations, aided by technological advancements in surveillance and data collection, provide us with the clarity that has long eluded us? Or will these sightings, like so many before them, remain enshrouded in mystery? Looking forward, the future of UFO investigations in Denmark and France is uncertain, but full of potential. As societal acceptance of the UFO phenomenon grows and the stigma surrounding such topics continues to dissipate, the opportunities for further research have expanded. With the renewed interest in space exploration and countries increasingly investing in space programs, the likelihood of encounters intensifying seems high. If we are indeed dealing with an intelligence beyond our current understanding, the answers might not come easily. But the pursuit of truth, no matter how challenging or far-reaching, is what keeps this enigma alive. As we close this chapter on the unsolved mystery of UFOs in Denmark and France, the one thing that is certain is that the phenomenon is far from over. Whether extraterrestrial or something else entirely, the quest to understand these sightings continues to captivate and confound. And as the years pass, more revelations, more mysteries, and perhaps more answers may yet surface, adding to the ever-growing saga of UFOs in our skies.